Trustees, this evening we are joined by Dr. Scott Menzel of the WISD. It's that time of year where it's election time, the time when we get to exercise our civic right to vote. So, Dr. Swift.
First of all, welcome, Dr. Menzel. We're so glad that you're here this evening. Madam President and trustees, you've been well aware for several months that our ISD is working on a capital bond proposal that will be presented on the August 6th ballot. I just want to give a special shout out to the ISD for the work that they've done on this, and we will be lending our support to make sure everybody has full information in order to make their decisions and get out to the polls on August 6th. And trustees, you will recall this is a 0.37 mil, and it is dedicated to capital improvements to the High Point School. Dr. Menzel has agreed, and he's here this evening to give us just firsthand information. If you would like, trustees, they also have some tours coming up of that property. Trustees or anyone in the community, everyone's welcome to go through on one of the tours. I'm going to try to make one of those, Dr. Menzel. And trustees, I think you remember from my earlier briefings, but I just want to say it publicly that I really appreciate the leadership of the WISD to place this item on the ballot because their other option in order to ensure a facility that would serve some of our most heavily impacted students in the county, their other option would be to use our special ed millage money that we approved, just a couple of years ago. And that, of course, would have taken away from all of the funds that we have to serve our students. So, Dr. Menzel, I just want to give you a special call out for taking a step so that we could protect the money that was designated for services to kids while also ensuring a facility that serves our students well. So with that, we'll Dr. Menzel, pretty good, 6:05, to turn that over to you, and we'll hear. And trustees, I know that several of you prepared, and you know about this, and you're going to make remarks, but if it's all right, we'll have Dr. Menzel share first. Is that okay? Very good. Dr. Menzel.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'd also like to introduce Ashley Krasinski, who is our Communications and Public Relations Specialist, and she can remind me of the exact dates and times of our open houses, but I think one is Thursday at 5:30. The other is Sunday at noon. Sunday at noon, so absolutely we would welcome any member of the community to come through the facility for a tour. I'm going to move through the PowerPoint pretty quickly. I know you have some information in your packet as well, but I think there are some important points to make with respect to what High Point School is, who we serve, and what the particular facility challenges are that resulted in this bond request being put forward to the voters in Washtenaw County. So the school itself opened in 1975. And it initially provided services to students who were labeled trainably mentally impaired and focused on vocational services and programs for those students. Today, High Point serves students ages 3 to 26. Most of those students have severe cognitive and multiple impairments. We serve students from the 9 public schools in Washtenaw County. And students, depending on when they start with us, can be with us for up to 23 years in the facility. Medical advances in technology have resulted in students who in the past, in 1975, might have been hospitalized or institutionalized. They're receiving educational services in our facility. We share the space with 3 other programs, and I think it's important to point this out as well. Honey Creek Community School is a K-8 multi-age charter that's authorized by WISD. It was the second charter in the state of Michigan, and it was authorized because we believe that students with disabilities should be educated with typically developing peers. As far as is possible, our local districts do the best to educate students with disabilities within your buildings. But there are some students whose needs are so significant, so we talk about low-incident, high-cost students, that across the county, it's more cost-effective to be able to educate them in a central location, and that's what High Point is. However, we didn't believe, the ISD didn't, and this is prior to my arrival, that it was appropriate to educate them in isolation from other students. And so that's why that school is located there, and there are about 245 students at Honey Creek. Gretchen's House provides childcare and infant toddler programs, and a preschool room. They were invited to locate on campus as a service to the employees of WISD. Now, there are other people that take advantage of it. There are other school employees in some neighboring districts, but that was part of the intent. And then the preschool program serves as another side-by-side opportunity because we serve preschoolers with significant disabilities. More recently, because of some space challenges, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program had to move out of one of the Ann Arbor facilities, and we were able to put that in the High Point building as well. So these three programs operate side by side and coordinate activities throughout the building for our students. This is the map that kind of illustrates what a creative architectural team could do in the 1970s. And it was a phenomenal design at the time. It was creative, the honeycomb shapes with centrums and not a single classroom that looks like it's the same size, and certainly no square rooms and space for storage also not there. You may recall that the blue area in the front here, I don't know if I can get this pointer, this used to be the Huron Valley Beauty School. Celine and Ann Arbor had their students for cosmetology here. They moved out probably a year and a half ago to a new location. But the facility has undergone small modifications over time. But the last time Washtenaw ISD went to the voters in the county for a facilities bond was 30 years ago. And so we've been using operating dollars to make the kinds of changes that are needed to do the day in and day out kinds of work with the operating funds. As we took a look at where we are in the needs of the facility currently, we realized the building's getting close to 50 years. The mechanical equipment is nearing or at end of useful life, and the cost of just replacing heating and cooling units was approaching $10 million. And then we have roof repairs that are required. We've got technology infrastructure. We still don't have a way to attend to some of the challenges related to storage in the building. And so as we started looking at all of those costs, some of which are non-negotiable, you have to have functioning heating and cooling systems, and you can't have roofs that leak. And the cost at that level, we had a conversation with the superintendents last August and said, it probably makes sense to look at what's the next 40 to 50 years look like in the High Point facility, and what is a more appropriate investment of taxpayer resources. And it became pretty clear very quickly that spending $18 million in a facility that doesn't meet the needs of our students today is not a good use of taxpayer dollars compared to putting something in place that, while it will cost a little bit more on the front end, over time is going to be an investment that meets the needs of our kids more appropriately. So as you can see, the students that we're serving, we have amazing stories of success. We were recently recognized as a MOVE model site for some of the curriculum we do. We have parents who tell stories about the things that they've been able to do as a result of the implementation of that curriculum. And tonight I'm going to go through things very quickly. We would love to come back and even have some of those parents present to you if you have an interest at some point. So we looked at approximately $18 million to do the bare bone essentials in the facility. But if you have a chance to walk through, or if you've been through the building, you'll know that many of the corridors are very narrow. They're dark. You need breadcrumbs to find your way from place to place in the building. I've been the superintendent here since 2011, and I still wander the halls and have to remember which way to turn in order to get back to where I started. The building is not fire suppressed. We have these barriers in many of the door frames, and so getting wheelchairs, especially larger motorized wheelchairs, through the facility becomes a challenge. And then if you have other students in the hallway, it's even more difficult. So as we said, and we've coined this Reimagining High Point, we wanted to be able to keep the parts of the building that work. And the gymnasium and the pool space are functional with some renovations. They don't need to be torn down. And those are expensive parts of a facility to build. And so we're actually going to present a proposal that looks at building around that core, but attends to the needs of our students in some pretty significant ways. So we'll renovate and modify the pool and the gym area, demolish the honeycomb-shaped areas of the building, and put in 30 to 35 classrooms, room for special subjects. Right now there's not an art room or a music room. We do that all on a cart for our students. The music therapy for our students with disabilities is pretty phenomenal. We've got an amazing teacher. And again, come and visit anytime, and you'll see just how powerful that can be. But we don't have designated space for that. We will also be able to maintain and improve age and ability appropriate outdoor playscapes, create proper storage, and you'll see some pictures in here where things are just out in the open because there's no place to store it. We'll have the kind of furniture and equipment that meets the needs of our students. Classrooms vary in size from about 600 square feet to 750. And just imagine putting in some classrooms as many as 9 wheelchairs, 750 square feet, the adults supporting the students in that room. There is no room to move around. In the new design, we'll have standard-sized classrooms, about 1,000 square foot each, that provide a more appropriate learning environment for our students. We also will be able to get some energy efficiencies as a result of the new construction, because this is an older building. And speaking of safety and security concerns, this building has, 32 different exits and points and people prop doors, all of the things that you don't want in the 21st century to ensure that you know who's in your building, when they're in their building, to guarantee to parents that you've attended to the safety and security of their students. So I'm going to move through the guiding principles quickly. These were the things that helped us with our original thinking about what the facility could look like. And this plan that you see here in front of you is still evolving, but essentially on the right-hand side, we have what we call houses. So imagine that you have a central entry point, and right now our parking lot curves around, and students, when they get on off the bus and come into the building, are exposed to the elements. It is not a covered entryway into the building. And so you can imagine with some of our winter storms, some of our rainstorms, that our students in wheelchairs are exposed to a lot of elements. That is not optimal. In the new design, we'll have a covered drop-off place for the buses, so students have protected entry into the facility and out of the facility. It also has a main corridor here, so that as students are coming in and after they come in, parents have to sign in here before they can get into the building. This separate entrance here is because we envision Gretchen's house, our youngest students, our preschoolers, and kindergarten for Honey Creek would be in this space. Again, it's about an integrated learning environment where similarly aged students are co-located together, and so you've got 8 classrooms per house. Envision age progression through that, and these are the primary classroom corridors. If you think back to the image of the building now, you had 3 different honeycomb shapes, and you had to figure out where you were going and couldn't remember who was located where. The wayfinding is pretty easy. If you want to get to the academic classroom pieces, you go to the right. If you want to get to some meeting spaces, this are offices for our speech and language, PT, OT, the other ancillary support, as well as administration. And then you get to the back, you have the dining room with the performing stage, a media center, which we have one that's really small in the center of the building with no windows. This one actually gives us a view out the back, along with an art room and a dedicated music space here. So now we have something that actually functions like a school in a way that makes sense, has appropriate security mechanisms built in. High Point got its name because we are located in the highest point in Washtenaw County. So the views out the back are absolutely beautiful, and so we're proposing to take advantage of those by having good windows and daylighting throughout all aspects of the facility. But this is, again, just a schematic drawing because we thought it was important to actually be able to show voters what we would be putting in place of the current facility. This is how it would sit on our current property, and I know that many of you have been to our teaching and learning center over here. Across the parking lot is where High Point is. You can see we have a lot of green space. There's actually a greenhouse on the property that we would move but continue to have. We've got natural wetlands and places for nature-based education all around the facility. So we're able to, instead of having to find a different place to build this, which was one of the things we looked at, we're able to take advantage of the fact that we're on a high point and not bring in so much fill in order to be able to make this work, nor do we have to spend cost to acquire land because we already own it. You can see the aerial from the existing building. Again, it looks really cool. It just doesn't function for the needs of our students today. And a schematic drawing of what it would look like potentially given the proposal that we just talked about with the covered parking, a straight line of drop-off and pickup, and then the various houses for the classrooms there. So then the question becomes, what's it going to cost? And what we're estimating is that it will cost about $53.3 million to do this. We've had to take into account the variability in construction cost more recently, and so that's part of what is included there. But in order to generate that, we have to levy 0.37 mills over a 10-year period of time. And actually, that's even a little misleading because it's only on 9 tax bills. If the voters approve this on August 6th, the first time they would see the 0.37 mills levied would be in the summer tax bill of 2020. And so it's really 9 tax bills, but a 10-year period because of approval being in August of 2019. So for a homeowner with a market value home of $100,000, it's $18.50 a year. If you're at $200,000 market value, $100,000 taxable value, it's $37 a year. And you can see the scale from there. So in contrast to what most of our traditional K-12 districts do with a longer bonding period of time, and you have a lot more facilities to manage, we're able to do this in a shorter period of time so that the voters are actually paying for the asset. And I would hope that people see that, given we haven't been to the voters for 30 years, that we do a really intentional job of maintaining the facilities we have. But at some point in time, every facility gets to the end of its useful life, and you have to make a decision about whether or not you can renovate or if you have to build new. In this case, given the footprint of the building, it's the combination renovation and build new. And we believe that it will actually meet the needs of our students both now and into the future. If it doesn't pass, as Dr. Swift mentioned earlier, we would have to take money from operating dollars in order to be able to do the required heating and cooling, roof repair, some of the core infrastructure things that must be attended to. We are authorized under state statute to bond for up to $19 million without a vote of the people, but the repayment of that bond comes from the operating dollars. And if we have to use that money for capital, it's money that otherwise would have been going to reimburse the local districts for the cost of providing mandatory special education services. So again, this is really important to all 9 districts in Washtenaw County. It's important to the children that we serve in High Point. And the election is on Tuesday, 6 days away. We've been doing a lot to try to get information out to people. We've had quite a few inquiries through Let's Talk on our website, people wondering about specifics. We've had some questions about, well, couldn't you use another facility? But given the toileting requirements, we have to have bathrooms for every classroom. We have a lot of other needs that make it so you can't just take a vacant elementary building and convert it into something that would work for High Point. And so at the end of the day, we've been able to answer those, and most people have been appreciative of the responses. We also want to remind people that under New Michigan law, if you are not registered to vote now, it's not too late. You can register to vote all the way up until August 6th. If you're not going to be here, you can vote absentee tomorrow, on Friday. You can vote absentee on the day of the election by going to the clerk if you can't go to your polling station. So there are more opportunities for people to express their opinions on this, and so we just want to make sure that individuals have the information they need. We want to answer any question. We certainly hope you and others from the community will come out for open houses, and I would welcome any questions that you have about the proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Menzel. We really appreciate you coming and making the pitch, and we'll do what we can to support.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your support, and anytime you have questions, feel free to give us a call, shoot me an email. We want to be of service to you and appreciate all the work that you do. I know summer is going very quickly, and there's a lot on your plates as well, so best wishes as you move out of summer and into the beginning of the new school year.
Thank you very much.